Deshatarini
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Nitya Krishna Srivasari Gaura
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta-vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Kunj Bihari, Radha Kunj Bihari, Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva Mai Subhadra. Jaya Srinath Ji, Jaya Balagopal, Jaya Srinath Ji, Jaya Giri Govardhan. Jaya Goranita, Jaya Goranita, Jaya Goranita, Jaya Goranita. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo. Jai. Jai.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kanamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Ruta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vidamtam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakamikamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, welcome to our study of continuing in chapter 12. So, this chapter is entitled Devotional Service. And in the verse number 8, Krishna was describing a very advanced stage of devotional service, in which he said, just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all of your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without a doubt. So he said to fix your mind upon Krishna fully, engaging all one's intelligence, means one must have a very deep and strong attraction. Our mind and consciousness gravitates to that which we are attracted to. If the businessman is very attracted to the profits and money of his business, the very lusty person is attracted to mind is captured by the beauty of another. And like this, whatever it is that we are attracted to, it captivates our mind. So to be able to be fully attached to Krishna, to fix one's mind on Krishna requires this deep attraction to the Supreme Lord. So this process is very elevated. So now Krishna is going to speak in the next verse, verse number 9, about how to achieve this state if one is not yet there. So what is the process to acquire or to awaken this spontaneous attraction and absorption in Krishna? And we say that it is natural, and we use the word awaken, because it means that this attraction to Krishna is our natural instinct. Just as a baby, when a baby emerges from the womb of mother, no matter what species it is, there is a natural connection between the baby and mother. Nobody has to make a formal introduction. Nobody has to introduce, dear baby, this is now your mother, she will care for you. No, there is a natural attraction. So similarly, the living entity, being part and parcel of Krishna, has this natural attraction to Krishna. It is actually our eternal nature, our real nature. So then what has happened? Why is this attraction not yet perceived? Why do we not have this spontaneous love for Krishna yet? So Krishna explains now in this verse how to bring about that attraction. Okay? So let us read verse 9. Would somebody like to read the verse? And we can read some of the purport.
one can follow to be ultimately elevated to the state of attachment to Krishna.
Okay. Someone else? Anyone else would like to read?
Bhakti Yoga is the purification of the senses. At the present moment, in material existence, the senses are always impure, being engaged in sense gratification. But by the practice of Bhakti Yoga, these senses can become purified, and in the purified state, they come directly in contact with the Supreme Lord. In this material existence, I am deeply engaged in some service to some master, but I really don't, and I don't really lovingly serve my master. I simply serve to get some money, and the master also is not enough. He is service from me and pays me. So there is no question of love. But for spiritual life, one must be elevated to the pure stage of love. That stage of love can be achieved by practice of devotional service performed to the present state.
Okay.
The love of God is now in a dormant state in everyone's heart. And their love of God is manifested in different ways, but it is contaminated by material association. Now the heart has to be purified of the material association, and that dormant, natural love for Krishna has to be revived. That is the whole process.
To practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, one should, under the guidance of an expert spiritual master, follow certain principles. One should rise early in the morning, take bath, enter the temple, and offer prayers and chant Hare Krishna. Then collect flowers to offer to the deities, cook foodstuffs to offer to the deities, take prasadam, and so on. There are various rules and regulations which one should follow, and one should constantly hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam from pure devotees. This practice can help anyone rise to the level of love of God, and then he is sure of his progress into the spiritual kingdom of God. This practice of Bhakti Yoga under the rules and regulations with the direction of a spiritual master will surely bring one to the stage of love of God.
Okay. So now here we are hearing about two levels of bhakti. Okay? So there are progressive stages of bhakti. Now the end goal is to awaken our dormant love for Krishna. When there is love, as I mentioned in the beginning, it is spontaneous. One doesn't need rules and regulations to inspire one to render love. Like the baby and the mother. The baby doesn't need rules and etiquette to express love to mother and vice versa. It happens naturally. So this is the goal. And Srila Prabhupada says that for spiritual life, one must be elevated to the pure stage of love. So this is our goal, and that is what Krishna explained in the prior verse. That one's mind is fixed upon Krishna naturally, out of love, not out of a commitment to a process, not out of obligation. So in this mood of service, it is called Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. So it is a very high platform. It comes after one has acquired this taste, this ruchi of the holy names we talked about last week. So in Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, there is a deep attachment to Krishna. And the desire to render service is coming internally. There's an internal impetus to chant the holy names, to sing for the Lord, to read Shastra, to render service. It happens internal. The reasons one does it is naturally internal. Now, how to acquire that stage is very important. Because it doesn't happen to the materially conditioned person. Right? So the intrinsic nature of the soul is to have this spontaneous love. But something has happened to us. What has happened to us? Let's have some discussion. Why is that love not today spontaneous for us?
Because of our false ego, we are not able to continue.
Yeah, because of our false ego. And our false ego has taken us to what types of activities?
Fruitive actions.
Yeah, fruitive actions, which creates the desires of I, me, and mine. In which case, the idea of service to Krishna doesn't manifest. Right? So this is, we say, conditioned our consciousness. It is contaminated our consciousness. So this natural ability to love Krishna is now hindered. Just like if I have a piece of wood, when it comes in contact with fire, has a natural ability to acquire fire, to turn into fire, right? That is a natural tendency of wood. But now if this wood has become very wet, damp by moisture, when I bring fire to that wood, what happens? Nothing. The wood doesn't light, it doesn't ignite, because it has now been contaminated with excess water. So this natural ability for the wood to ignite into fire has been diluted by this presence of water. So similarly, when the living entity comes in contact with Krishna and there is not a spontaneous attraction and ecstasy, it is due to the presence of some impurities in the heart. And these are the material desires. So when we remove the water from that wood, what happens when it comes in contact with fire? It lights very quickly. So how to bring about this spontaneous love when this conditioned soul comes in contact with Krishna? What do we need to do? Purify. Remove those contaminants. Just like removing the water leads to the igniting of the wood, similarly, when we remove the impurities in the heart, in the mind, in the senses, then this natural love for Krishna emerges. So, this attraction for Krishna is the intrinsic quality of the spirit soul. Just like the intrinsic quality of wood is to be burned, similarly, the intrinsic quality of the spirit soul is to have love for Krishna. So the goal of our spiritual life, the goal is to awaken this spontaneous love for Krishna. Where the desire, the impetus to serve happens naturally, spontaneously. And in this mood, there is no need for an alarm clock to rise early in the morning. One jumps out of bed and is eager to again participate in the chanting of the holy names. There is no minimum quota. I must chant my 16 rounds. There is only a shortage of time for the spontaneously attracted devotee, wishing they had more time, wishing they had more tongues, wishing they had more ears, more eyes, because 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 tongue is not sufficient to see, hear, and speak about Krishna. There's such a natural attraction. So that is the goal. So Krishna said, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, meaning in this very spontaneous mood, then what are we supposed to do? Are we doomed? Do we give up? He says, no. Then follow the regulator principles of Bhakti Yoga. So, we must follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. So, we are in what we call Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. This is the regulative principles practice of devotional service. And what happens when one performs this service, Sarvo Pari Vinirmuktam Tat Paretana Nirmalam Rishikesha Rishikena Sevanam Bhakti Uchite. That when one renders devotional service, there are two effects. One, one's senses are purified. So Srila Prabhupada says in the second paragraph, Bhakti Yoga is the purification of the senses. At the present moment, in material existence, the senses are always impure, being engaged in sense gratification. So the eyes, they want to see so many things. The ears want to hear so many things. The tongue wants to taste. And they are not so pure, because the senses have not been purified. So how to purify them? The practice of devotional service. So when one does bhakti, Rishikesha Rishikena, when one engages their senses in the master of senses, Krishna, then one's senses become purified. And when one's senses become purified, then this love can slowly emerge. Right? So Krishna, Prabhupada is explaining that in this paragraph, that we are rendering service today in so many ways. In material existence, I may be engaged in some service to master. Right? I go to the office and I render service to the boss. But that is not service out of love. That is service out of want. I want some paycheck, so I render service. And the recipient of that service is also not receiving it out of love. The recipient is saying, okay, how much I have to pay this fellow to come and do some work for me? The minimum I need to pay them to obtain maximum effort, I'll do. So this service in the material world is not in love. Our real mood is service to Krishna in love, in pure love, where one renders service with no expectation of anything in return, only serving out of the desire to please the object of our love. So the devotee in this mood serves Krishna in such a way that there is no desire. So we do not see this in the material world. We only see it in the spiritual world. So this activity of loving Krishna, it is lying dormant within our heart. It is not that we have to go find out how to love Krishna. It is actually our intrinsic nature. But why is it that I love to do so many other activities, but when it comes to chanting my rounds, okay, I do them. But I don't have love for them, maybe. Well, that is because this love in the heart is still dormant. So how to bring out this love? There is a prescribed process to bring out this natural, spontaneous love. And what is that prescribed process? These are the regulative principles of bhakti. When one does them, it awakens the dormant love. Kriti sadyat bhavat sarya bhava sasaranamida nitya siddhasya bhavatya praputam ridya sadyate. That when one does this sadhana bhakti, it brings out, it awakens this dormant love. And that is the potential of every living entity. So just like if I have a matchstick, the matchstick has the potential for fire. But how do I bring out the fire from the matchstick? I have to strike it against a particular surface. But I cannot strike it against any surface. If I strike a match against a piece of smooth glass, will the fire come out of the matchstick? Will it? No. I have to strike the match against a friction surface to create some friction for the fire to emerge. So similarly, to bring out this pure love of Krishna, there are prescribed processes, very specific processes that are proven to awaken this love of Krishna. Just like it is proven, if you strike the match against the side of the matchbox with that friction, it will work. Because that's the prescribed process. So we cannot whimsically do some processes to bring out. We must follow a prescribed process. But the goal of that regulated bhakti is to awaken this spontaneous love. You know, just like someone is learning to dance, and a young girl is being taught to dance. Well, the girl is thinking, I just want to come and dance. Well, that is also the goal of the teacher. But this mechanical and this repetition, according to a prescribed process, is the training process so that she may elevate to the point of being able to then dance spontaneously when the music is on. Without even having to think. It happens naturally. But it takes practice. So our sadhana, you know, isn't it why I have to chant 16 rounds? You know, why I should read daily? Why are these so many rules and regulations? I want to just have love. Yes, that is actually the goal. But these rules and regulations are meant to bring out this spontaneous love. It is the process to purify the senses, purify the consciousness, so that this natural love can emerge. Just like, again, that piece of wet wood. When we bring it in front of fire, it doesn't ignite because the water is present. Our love isn't igniting in the presence of Krishna because of the impurities of the heart. So, by following these principles, we can remove the impurities so that this natural love will then manifest. So when we are practicing our Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, we should have a clear goal. That the goal is to come to the platform of spontaneous service. Oh Krishna, I am chanting your rounds. I'm chanting my rounds, I should say. Chanting the holy names. I know they are important for me. And I am praying to someday have an attraction to chant these holy names. And a spontaneous mood to chant. But I know, by following these sadhana principles, that spontaneous love will soon emerge. So in the practice of our sadhana, we should have the goal of awakening this spontaneous love, this raganuga love, in which one is naturally fixed in consciousness of Krishna, as he explained in the 8th verse. Because that is a high platform that we all want to aspire to. But if I just do my sadhana without clear sight of the goal, then I may become just mechanical. So these sadhana principles are not mechanical, but they are very precisely designed to awaken this natural love of Krishna. And just like the matchstick is struck against a prescribed surface, these processes are prescribed in Shastra. So what to do and what not to do in bhakti is very clearly given. And when we speak about regular principles of bhakti, these are not the 4 regular principles of avoiding meat eating, gambling, intoxication, illicit sex. Those are the don'ts. But negative activities are not bhakti. Those are just things to avoid. But knowing not to eat mud is not sufficient. I must also know what to eat. I can't tell a child, don't eat mud. I must say, don't eat mud and eat these nice vegetables. So we know the don'ts. No meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. But what are the do's? These do's are the regular principles of bhakti Krishna is referring to here. And what do they include? Srila Prabhupada gives us so many examples in the final paragraph. Chanting the holy names of the Lord, rising early in the morning, entering the temple and offering prayers, offering flowers, cooking foodstuffs, reading Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of devotees. So Srila Rupa Goswami has given 64 specific processes of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. They're called the 64 Angas of Bhakti. Very specific processes that one should follow. For what purpose? To awaken this spontaneous love. We should set that as the goal and then follow these processes. So in Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, we practice this out of instruction from Guru and Shastra. The impetus, the motivation to perform devotional service is coming from the instruction of Guru and Shastra. It is not yet coming internally. But I know the spiritual master has only one goal for me, and that is to awaken my love for Krishna. So when the spiritual master says, please chant your rounds attentively, I have some faith. Yes, that must be for my benefit. When the Guru says, please engage in some service in the temple, yes, that is for my benefit. And so the bhakta follows these instructions for the purpose of advancing in Krishna consciousness. But the impetus again is external. And by doing so, one will slowly internally begin to follow. One still practices the same things. One still chants the holy names of the Lord at Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. One still renders devotional service. One reads Srimad Bhagavatam. One performs all the same activities. The only difference? Why? Now the reason is coming more internally. Right now we are doing, knowing it is good for us, and awaiting for this spontaneous mood to come. And the more we surrender to the instructions and guidance, the quicker this result will occur. So, Prabhupada says that this practice, under the rules and regulations, with the direction of a spiritual master, will surely bring one to the stage of love of God. So, Srila Rupa Goswami, we were discussing last night as well, the 64 angas of devotional service, the first 5 are related to accepting a spiritual master. Because by the mercy of Guru, one then learns how to practice these different angas of sadhana bhakti. So Srila Rupa Goswami has established that the first step is to accept a spiritual master. And then these processes will be explained to us, and we can practice them and awaken this dormant love of Krishna. So, now, just one final detail on this spontaneous mood. The Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, the spontaneous mood of that devotion is following in the footsteps. And what important that means is that even when one is spontaneously serving, there's still the aspect of following in the footsteps, meaning one doesn't become whimsical or manufactures or concocts their own ideas of service. So who are the Raganuga Sadhana Bhaktas following? They are following the eternal residents of Sri Vrindavan Dham. Because the residents of Vrindavan, they have perfected this spontaneous service. They have perfected it. And the Raganuga Bhakti is in the practice of perfecting their spontaneous service. So if you're practicing and you want to become expert in something, what do? We follow an expert. If I want to learn piano, I learn from an expert. If I want to learn tennis, I learn from an expert. If I want to learn calculus, I learn from an expert. So if I want to learn spontaneous love of Krishna, I learn from the expert. And who is the most expert at spontaneous love of Krishna? It is the residents of Goloka Vrindavan. So the Raganuga Sadhana Bhakta is following in their footsteps to awaken this most perfect mood of devotional service. So I'll conclude with one final statement or theme, which is the principle of devotional service is centered around one concept. Always remember Krishna and never forget him. Each and every one of the 64 angas of devotional service, they are designed in a way to help us remember Krishna and never forget him. That is the goal of bhakti. Krishna said in the 8th verse, fix your mind upon me without deviation. Right? So, always remember Krishna, never forget him. This is this core. So, all of the different activities that we do in bhakti, chanting, reading, cooking, making flower garlands, rendering service, whatever it is for the purpose of always remembering Krishna and never forgetting him. This is the mood of the perfect devotee, and this is the foundational principle of all of our sadhana. So when we are executing our sadhana, we should keep this topmost in mind, to try to remember Krishna and never forget him. And while practicing our Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, remember the goal. The goal of the dance student is not to just move their arm like this. Their goal is to become spontaneous in dance. Similarly, the goal of our regulated practices of bhakti is to grow and mature into this spontaneous love, where it happens naturally and very enthusiastically with strong attachment. Not, okay, I finished my 16 rounds, beat bag, I'll see you tomorrow. That is our current state. That is okay. By doing that, we will awaken this dormant love by purifying the senses, purifying the consciousness of the contaminants, and soon it will happen. Just as by removing the water from the wood, it will come into fire when it contacts light. Okay? So this is verse 9. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda. Any comments or questions or corrections, clarifications? Okay. Any other question? Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. When Srila Prabhupada mentions one who has developed an attachment for Krishna by transcendental love, does it mean the pure devotees develop transcendental love because of certain strong experience in this lifetime, which they acquired due to, which they engage their senses and mind towards Krishna in this lifetime, or due to their past good deeds in previous lives, which they carry the regulative mind due to which they develop this transcendental love towards Krishna?
So, how does a transcendental love develop? Well, it is due to the past good actions, the Agnata Sukriti, that one gets the fortune of coming in contact with this process of devotional service and the bona fide spiritual master. That is born out of, in most cases, not always, but in most cases, one's good past activities. That one has acquired the fortune to come in contact with the spiritual master. And then the spiritual master instructs the disciple on these principles of exactly how to awaken this love. Just as if you come in contact with a good coach, they can teach you whatever it is that they are expert in. So, the potential to awaken this love is present in everybody. Nobody is free from this potential. But it takes the practice of this specific process of bhakti to awaken it. And how to know about that? It takes the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So, when one desires in the heart to practice devotional service, then Krishna arranges to come in contact with the bona fide Guru, who will then instruct us in how to practice these principles. And it is by the practice of the sadhana bhakti that awakens our love. It is by the practice of our sadhana bhakti that awakens our love. There is no other factor, but how to come to that, it is by the unlimited mercy of Guru and Krishna. Okay? Yes?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Does pure devotees in transcendental love towards Krishna are burning their past karmas quickly and they do not create any more karmic reaction in this lifetime, Prabhu?
Once one has reached the state of pure devotional service, they are free of all past karmas. And of course, pure devotional service means it's pure. I'm doing nothing but serving Krishna. So then, certainly there are no other karmic reactions. Because one is exclusively focused in serving Krishna. When one is serving Krishna, there is no reactions. So the definition of pure means 100%. Just like if I say I have pure gold, it means there's no other metals within this gold. Similarly, pure bhakti means there is no other activities. So the pure devotee is, as the term indicates, fully purified and in a state of perfection. So there is no more karma affecting such pure devotee. Anything else? Okay. If not, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki